Hello Libra, my name's Uma. This is your horoscope for the full moon and Mars conjunction in Gemini. Please be gentle with me. I have a Gemini moon placement. Hello Libra, welcome back. So, things are getting a little hot and heavy and angry and fearful and scary at present, are they not? This has been a difficult reading to consolidate and to put down and to kind of find the words, find the channel to say what I mean and mean what I say, as my mum would say. But I'm getting there, and I can feel it coming beautifully. I want everyone, first of all, to have a think about Gemini and what the sign Gemini represents. In your experience, what does Gemini bring out for you? We know that it is representative of the twins. We know that there is definitely a duality with Gemini. There's definitely an absolute conversation that happens with Gemini. Gemini is mutable air, Libra. You're fixed air. So in terms of intellect, in terms of thoughts, and in terms of truth and facts, there's a initiation that happens in Libra that by the time it gets to Gemini is a washing machine ready to move on to the next. The conversation gains in traction in Gemini, and that idea of duality really does come up more so than it does for you, Libra. We know that in the natural zodiac, Libra is the figurehead of the seventh house, which is where we come together, where we find relationship, where we balance and explore ideas of equity. We also know that Libra's skill is taking the middle road. I choose the way that leads between the great two lines of force. That's you, Libra. It's not about this or this. Gemini has a propensity, a compulsion to sometimes be this or this. So in that way, we must be gentle with Gemini, and we must allow them space enough to find the clearing or find the peace in the conversation. The conversation will probably continue forever for Gemini, and that's all right because we need that. This is how we learn to communicate. It's how we process language, how we gain new languages, learn new languages. Gemini is perfect for that. But there is a frenetic nature to Gemini. So tie all of that imagery into then the profundity of a full moon. We know for a fact how emotionally charged full moons can be for us. We know that they move our emotional bodies, and that hospitals put on more staff, and so do the police force at a full moon. It's just a matter of a matter of routine is the phrase I was trying to find. We know that a full moon can be powerful and can be almost like a culmination of something that we have been calling and been brewing up inside of us. This particular full moon, this particular Gemini full moon, with all of that frenetic conversation, with all of that chesty sort of feeling, is in a conjunction with Mars, who has been in Gemini since the 20th of August and won't leave until March next year. That's 7 months of Mars in Gemini. That's 7 months of Firestarter. Think The Prodigy. There's that again, more fast-paced, more frenetic energy. And think about what happens when you mix fire, Mars, with air, Gemini. There's combustion, huge combustion when this happens. Think of Gemini as the wind, okay? And think of Mars as a ball of fire. That's just going to get bigger and bigger. Mars likes to move quickly. Mars likes to cut through things and charge ahead. From our perspective, the retrograde motion has them going backwards. I don't like this. Meeting the moon at exactly 16 degrees of Gemini, right on the money, is, I imagine, going to present itself, manifest in ways that are quite cataclysmic in terms of emotion. You're going to come into really great, useful help at this full moon, Libra. I can really feel it. For one, as I said before, that cardinal air, mutable air relationship. Also, for where Gemini sits in your chart, if you're a Libra rising in particular, Libra, your Gemini placement is the 9th house, which is where we learn and where we pray. The 9th house is the, I guess, formal structures of religious practice and philosophy. And I would say astrology too. And I would say tarot too. That's my religion. But in the formalized way of learning and of gaining information and of absorption and possibly, and potentially, hopefully, expression as well. And for that cycle to continue, for the lessons that you've gained to be shared with others. Let's think about this. Let's think about your life right now and what are you hungry for in terms of mind expansion? What have you been hungry for that has been a niggling feeling that has been ready to pop? And is there frustration? Is that, I think I've said it before, but it might be a case of sort of, reading 50 books, but only sort of getting through the first chapter of each. Like that could be a manifestation of Mars in your 9th house. There could be this like, well, let's skip to the end. Come on, let's get that USB and download all of this information into my head. This is the feeling that I can get. The reason that I say that you might be really helpful at this lunation is because the 9th house is there's intelligence there. And there is sort of some sort of sense of authority too that I can really feel in this reading, particularly Libra. So what I mean to say is that in your thirst for knowledge, and as I'm sharing this sort of information with you, have some of the info come into your head that at this lunation, other signs might be experiencing a bit of difficulty. I'd say it probably in particular, I would say that the mutable signs, so Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces might be feeling the rumblings of this one hitting quite harshly. So in that way, I think it might be really great for you to use that fire from Mars, that sort of want and that will, that urge to succeed and drive forward. Let's actually have it be a retrograde feeling, and let's hold back for the minute. Mars will station direct on the 13th of January of next year. So this is when we can, continue the charge, the hunger for information. But right now, as it stands, what you know at the minute, I think put that to good use for other folks around you. I'm getting a sense here as well that there is sort of, because that the 9th is also where we are oppressed by religious systems. The 9th can sometimes be an example of dogma, which I know is something to be completely thrown out the window and to be broken free of. This learning that I'm doing and this experience of absorbing information about the planetary alignments, it grows every single moment, every single day, and I'm rapidly learning that the schools of thought are evolving, and that there's layer upon layer upon layer on this thing that you can build to form a structure that has your own imprint on it, but also moves away from the separation of all of us. That's an interesting thing sometimes when you think about astrology and when you're sort of beginning to learn it and you think, oh, this person's that sign, or I don't get along with those signs, or that person, oh, that's typical whatever sign. It's quite popular as well in the media that's sort of put out there. It's sort of like can be quite prescriptive. And this is something that I think as we move forward, that language is perhaps settling a moment. We use this stuff to absolutely express and celebrate our individual expression and come into some sense of understanding as to why we are the way that we are, and perhaps why we've experienced what we've experienced up until this point too. We can go, okay, well, look, this is how I see this. This gives me a sense of belonging in a greater picture. And I think that philosophy, that line of thinking, would be beneficial to apply to everyone. And so in terms of like drawing the line between, well, I'm an air sign, so I don't, oh, you're a fire sign, we get along, but, to hell with the earth and water signs, all of that kind of stuff. It's cute, but I think at a time of such division, at a time of such polarizing thoughts and opinions in the outer world, less to do in this spiritual world, I hope, but in the outer world, we can see the line in the sand being drawn between conservative and liberal, between the ideologies, of this planet are gaining such extremism in such rapidity that it would really pay us as spiritual folks, as folks that read the cards and read the planets, to double down on the fact that this stuff links us all. This stuff links us all together, and this is an emblem of the possibility of a collective consciousness. I don't know why I've gone down this pathway, Libra, but I imagine it's because this is your 9th house. So maybe we can consider this reading as maybe a little bit of advice from me to you, just as far as in your way of wishing to learn about this sort of stuff. The fundamental principle has to be that this connects us and that there is no division. One little tidbit that I might throw out there too is that at this stage in consciousness, this is just one line of thought, and you can change the channel if you think I'm talking up the water spout, but one line of thought in astrology, one vantage point, one consideration, one philosophy on it is that now there are 12 signs. As we evolve, as we go down into the clearer water of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, as we expand and evolve our consciousness, as we come to fully realize that we are connected in some way, and that division and war and strife and greed and hate have no importance, no welcome, no measure of validity in our existence, the zodiac will then meld into 6, and we will have found some sense of greater enlightenment, greater connection. I want you to probably look to Aries at this time, Libra, directly across the way from you in the zodiac. Remember that Aries rules, Mars rules Aries. So there's power here. I think that from your 7th house, perhaps look to other folks that you admire and love, and draw in that confidence that you can find in them, and draw in this confidence, this yearning to learn in this moment, at this moon. Let the emotional repercussions happen around you. Witness potentially what more further division has in store for us as a whole, as a flesh and blood human citizen. And spiritually, I think that I feel a real confidence and a real ability for you at this one, Libra. So I want you to gather around and gather folks, those that are around you. Be inquisitive, perhaps. I mean, it's always better, if somebody willingly sort of offers their astrology to you. It is cute at a party to meet someone new, or to be in company with someone and to witness them perhaps in some struggle, perhaps in some sort of Nine of Swords struggle, which is Mars in Gemini. And to say to them, what's your sign? And say it with, let's figure out how we are connected. Let's figure out what we have in common, not what separates us or divides us. That's your 9th house reading, Libra. I hope that was a nice one for you. Thank you very much for being here with me and liking and subscribing to my work. I really, really thoroughly appreciate it. Do head over to umaruby.com and book yourself a reading with me. You can get your birth chart read. And there's multiple different avenues, different vantage points that we can take. If you're a return client, you can book yourself a straight tarot reading. It's called the Witch Reading. It's just an hour with me and you and the cards, and we can talk about whatever it is that might be on your mind and see if we can find some active strategies together. So until I see you in 2 weeks for the new moon in Capricorn, I love you very much, Libra, and thank you very much for your presence at this time. I'll say it again, I think that you've got a lot to offer at this full moon for others that might be struggling. I love you. Take care. Bye.